Are you ready to get spicy?
These Doritos Golden Sriracha aren't that spicy.
Maybe it's time to turn up the heat.
Or turn it down. It's time for something that's not too spicy. Try Doritos Golden Sriracha.
Spicy.
But not too spicy.
Whenever I need to send roses that are guaranteed to make someone's day, the only place I trust is 1-800-Flowers.com. With 1-800-Flowers, my friends and family always receive stunning, high-quality bouquets that they absolutely love. Right now, when you buy a dozen multicolored roses, 1-800-Flowers will double your bouquet to 2 dozen roses. To claim this special double roses offer, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, it was one of the country's biggest drug smuggling operations involving Chinese gangs, mahjong parlors, and a mastermind named Onionhead. We'll review the podcast, The Chinatown Sting from Pushkin Industries. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband, and yes, the love of this part of my life.
This part.
Kevin Flynn. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Also with us is private investigator, pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of The Final Curtain, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, it's our captain of all things cynical. He's the author of the City trilogy of novels. He hosts a podcast called Rip Current, another one called More Like Ancient Aliens, another one called Strange Arrivals, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast. Hi, Toby.
Hey, Rebecca.
So, Kevin.
Yes.
This is Monday's program.
It is.
What's coming up on Thursday's show?
On Thursday, we're going to talk about the new podcast from Serial Productions and the New York Times. It's called The Preventionist.
Oh, all right. Guys,
Is that even a word? Like, I'm thinking about the podcast series.
No one
I
ever
listened
said
to
that.
it. No one ever said that, right?
No.
Did they make up that word?
I don't know if it's a made-up word, but I've never heard it before.
I not only prevent things, I'm a preventionist.
Listen, as somebody who likes to talk as if I'm an expert on everything, I can tell you I do not know the answer to that question.
Oh.
And that's meaningful. It means it's unknowable.
Preventionist. What is a preventionist? AI overview. A preventionist is a professional focused on preventing negative events, such as substance abuse, violence, or healthcare-associated infections. Also known as a prevention specialist.
Ah.
Oh, all right.
Kind of like a hospitalist, but not a hospitalist.
Doesn't say anything in there about them being a dick, though.
It says aims to reduce social issues.
Okay.
Like substance abuse, mental health problems, and violence through education outreach. Aims to reduce social issues is a weird way of saying that.
Thank you, AI. But that's next time's topic, right?
That is next time's topic.
Well, now we know next time we talk about it that it's a real word.
We can talk about the title of this one because it combines two very popular 1970s movies.
Oh, right.
Let's do that. But first, let me introduce the clips and everything so that we can get into it. Does that sound good, everybody?
You don't want to spoil what you already said at the top of the show
know.
what it is.
We'll
All
talk
right.
about the title after we play the clips.
Okay.
Leading off.
I knew it was going to be a big case because there was a lot of heroin, and the focus was on China white heroin at the time because a lot was coming into New York. A lot of heroin was coming in from China to Hong Kong, then into New York. And it sounded like a good opportunity to work a big case.
In 1988, postal officials intercepted a package of heroin from China being sent to New York. DEA agents followed the shipment to the door of a young mother living in Chinatown. Tina Wong told them she was paid by a high school friend to receive packages and pass them along to a street gang.
I was bringing down one box and it was kind of like open, so I looked at it and it was like a brick. When I touched it, it was kind of dusty, and I think I went like this and it went in my mouth and I said, "Oh my God, the taste."
Officials learned women in local mahjong parlors were being recruited to take part in a massive drug trafficking operation. Prosecutors leaned on Wong to betray her friend and take down the gang. But as they moved in on the Flying Dragons, its leader, named Onionhead, fled to Hong Kong.
There was mention of a criminal syndicate powerful enough to take on the Italian mafia, an attempted assassination, a global manhunt, congressional hearings, international press coverage, a standing room only trial. And none of it would have happened without a group of ordinary people
From Pushkin Industries comes the podcast, The Chinatown Sting. Host Lidia Jean Kott and co-reporter Shuyu Wang talk to key figures in the crime who've never spoken before. In addition to reviewing the investigation, they dig into the challenging cultural landscape faced by those growing up in New York's Chinese neighborhoods during the 1980s. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from the Chinatown Sting. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up and thumbs down review. And if you want to level up your business, you need the most advanced tools to help you do that.
Oh, stop it.
Sorry, the Malcolm Gladwell of it is
Gladwell,
all.
man.
It's like whenever I can't help it. Those commercials get in my ears, and that's all I can think about.
I really think that the true crime demographic and the information
the business decision maker demographic,
the B2B demographic, I think the overlap is probably less than they anticipate. But all right.
So Toby, as you were saying before I played the clips, the title is evocative of what?
Oh, it's just like two well-known 70s classic movies.
That's right.
It's like naming it like Apocalypse Now Tootsie or something. It's just sort of combining two things that people are nostalgic for. Neither of which have anything to do with the topic of this podcast.
That's right. I recommend looking up sometime Faye Dunaway filming Chinatown and how she was received by her colleagues on that film. It's a very interesting story. So, Laura, you have a very interesting thought about the way you might have set up this podcast if you were the one producing it. What is that thought?
Yeah, so I think for me, a lot of this was just kind of rehashing of this old case, which is interesting. But the last section of this, where she was talking about being in federal court and immigration court and seeing essentially all of the folks there that were with their face masks on, ready to deport people, asking for papers, and how people that would be cooperating witnesses are reluctant to go to court now, even when they're told they're going to be taken care of, because if they come out of the courtroom and they don't have all the papers in order, they're literally just being deported and escorted from the court by these agents in bandanas that are taking them away. And I thought, what would have made this feel really relevant was to kind of bring that up front. Like, what would this case be like today in the era of the type of deportations and ICE activity that we're seeing? And I mean, it was hard to get the cooperating witnesses at the time that this case happened. But now, do you think anybody's going to go into federal court or any sort of court to testify in something where there are people that are immigrants that are here legally or otherwise? But do you think that anybody would actually have gone in and told what happened if, it doesn't matter if they say they're going to take care of us, they're going to boot us out? So I think that for me would have been kind of an interesting way to set this up so that I felt like, okay, there's a relevance to this. This is a what would have happened if then that would have shed light on an issue that a lot of people are really, invested in learning about now. And it's got, I think, a lot of relevance to our country today. Mm-hmm. So that was where I was just thinking that would have been an interesting way to segue into this story.
Right.
Because when I heard that at the end, I was like, oh, damn, yeah, they would never have gotten people to go into court.
No. And what's interesting, too, is that I'm sure they made this podcast or were making it before this became news. But all I could think about is like, in today's America, it would be thought of by some as justifiable to just bomb and sink those ships that were bringing in the stuff, because that's what's happening now. Although that's probably more than just about drugs. Anyway, so Kevin,
I think it was the post office that was bringing those.
Yes,
that was the thing, right? It wasn't being smuggled in on a submarine, right?
You're right.
They were just sending it in the mail. That
I thought
was
it was
one
a cargo ship, but I guess not, right?
No.
Okay. So Kevin, this is an old case.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, considering that it's, about 30 years old, it's probably more engaging than one might expect. I believe that I like this more than the rest of you, so I'll just say that up front. I think they do a halfway decent job of making it feel fresh to me anyway. I think they find, like, all the right people, or at least the people they find are fairly interesting. I mean, I don't know how you tell it without Tina and without Beryl, and the fact that they have Wah, I think is really great. And so we end up doing a lot of these podcasts, which are basically, hey, remember when this thing happened? And, they find the FBI agent and whatever the hell. And that's about the extent of it. And I think that even though this does follow like a lot of those beats, and that is the material that they're dealing with, I thought they found ways to make it less flat than that.
Right. See, my issue with this is that, I mean, it's pretty clear it's access journalism, because the only reason that we have this story is because her boyfriend's mom is the judge who was the prosecutor at the time, and she still has all these documents. And I just found myself thinking, like, why this case? Why was this the one that Lidia chose to pursue?
Because her boyfriend's mother is the...
Right, but I'm sure this isn't the only box of the stuff this woman has, right? I'm just curious about why. Like, what is the larger issue here? To me, it works better when you have an older story, when you have either incredibly compelling characters or a human interest, or it sheds light on something relevant or bigger or surprising, or it's like an unknown history kind of thing. And this had some of those elements, but I'm not sure it really stuck with me because it kind of lacked that kind of depth. What do you think, Toby? Do you think that this old story, is there something there that I'm missing?
My immediate guess would be that they think that you could do a like limited series based around the mahjong playing women importing heroin, and that they think that might be a way to spin it off as IP. That would be my guess. Because the part for me that seemed the most compelling, was particularly Tina Wong, who I think there used to be independent movies about this kind of thing with these people who are sort of grow up in neighborhoods that have like strong mob influence. They don't become part of the mob, but they get like a little piece of the action. And then along with getting that little piece of the action, they also get like the full on consequences if things don't go right. And she kind of feels like she's kind of like, that's her situation, right? Is that she has a friend from high school who kind of gets her involved in being a small part of a much larger operation. But that doesn't mean that she's any less imperiled with the law.
We're poor kids. We don't have that kind of money. So to have that kind of money, you take a chance. And I think a lot of people would probably have taken the chance.
You don't get the feeling she's living like high on the hog or anything at this point. So yeah, I thought that part for me was the most interesting, and it did feel kind of cinematic, not in like the large screen kind of way, but in the way some of these movies used to be. And I think it's, it's an interesting situation, and we've kind of heard about people who are in it in various things. I'm trying to remember what that one mob show we watched where they had that guy who was looking really sad, like he was like 60 and kind of a big guy who's hanging out in a boxing gym that was strangely lit. Do you remember what that is?
Not Sons of Anarchy.
God, I don't know. That doesn't sound a little bit familiar to me.
It was the HBO thing where...
I'm sure we did it.
Yeah.
You know me, my memory.
But they were talking about like how, basically like somebody would owe him money and then they like break his kids' legs to get him to pay up.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, fuck, this is kind of the same situation. Like you like just get a taste of it and then suddenly you're in a really bad position.
Yeah. One thing that I was glad to hear about in this podcast was I was glad to hear them cover the Chinese Exclusion Act, because I was thinking about it before they talked about it. And if folks don't know what the Chinese Exclusion Act is, you should. It actually is very much embroiled, aside from being racism, also with heroin trade, like at the turn of the century and before. And it's a turn of the 20th century, I should say, not the turn of the century. I always forget that it's 2025 now. But yeah, you should check out some history about the Chinese Exclusion Act. It had a long, wide-ranging impact on communities around the country, on the way immigration was shaped in the country. It sort of set in stone a lot of the institutional racism against not just Chinese people, but Asians in our country. And I'm really glad that they included that. And there, in terms of like larger themes, though, what, Laura, do you think is a larger theme here, beyond the history and beyond the story? Because there is sort of a question about justice that gets raised at some point.
Right. Well, she sets out in the beginning when she's telling us about herself and her interests, and she says her question is how we make the law more and less just. And I thought, that's an interesting concept. And she's like, there's this suitcase full of documents, and it's about a criminal syndicate strong enough to take on the Italian mafia, and drugs hidden in tea boxes and stuffed animals. But she started leading into that with how do we make the law more and less just? And I like that concept. I wanted to have more of a thread of that concept throughout this podcast, because I think that could have been you're having these women that were threatening people that you're going to take your children away if you don't cooperate. And is that strong-arming the law to get the outcome that you want? Are there other ways to approach this? And how in this case, I guess at the end, I didn't really come away feeling like I had an answer to that question that was put forward at the beginning. I was like, what am I supposed to think now? Like, was this more or less just, okay, they shut down, the heroin coming from China. Now we hear about all the drugs coming from South America and Mexico and Venezuela and everything, but like it just shifted elsewhere. So I guess I wanted more analysis of that question along the way, as opposed to just putting it out there up front.
By the way, there's still a lot of Chinese drugs being imported. Fentanyl in particular there's a whole thing. There's a lot of reporting on it. Kevin, we have two, I don't want to call them co-hosts. We have a main reporter, and then we have somebody she brings in to help with the reporting and sort of the context. Would you think that this is a co-host situation?
Well, I mean, they presented as that Lidia Jean is the host and Shuyu Wang is the co-reporter. And I think that's how they kind of explained it. I think actually the use of these two is kind of smart and effective. I mean, we have seen this before, and Shuyu kind of plays a little bit of the producer kind of role here, but I think it was good to get her because Lidia Jean's probably would face the criticism of like a white woman dabbling in Chinese culture, and she provides more than just the practical assistance of an attorney who happens to speak Cantonese, but also she's able to offer that cultural context, but also makes a good partner here. So when they do these debriefs, they can bounce a few things off of one another.
It was a brick apartment building.
Yeah.
We entered the building not knowing if Tina is in this room this time, but we went up to her floor, went to her door.
The door opened. This woman was standing there, and I said nothing.
Yeah, I think I was the one who broke the silence, right?
I thought, okay, this is at least a little different than just reading the book report about what happened in this really big case 30 years ago.
No, I agree. The debriefs I liked. They were scripted debriefs, but they were well executed. And I do get tired. I mean, they were relatively well executed compared to some of the things we've listened to. But I do get tired sometimes of straight narration when we know there's a second person involved. We just had this recently. Was it Murder on Music Row? Where we had a second person who was barely there. And like some of that conversation, I think, may have done that story service. Toby, were you just shaking your head just now?
I just, it just felt so clearly scripted.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're going to run out of tape. Just when you're having editorial meetings, just record them and then you can pick it out when it's actually happening and it sounds good.
Right.
Or at least sounds real.
Or just write bullets instead of sentences. That's what we do at NHPR.
Chicken feet. I went down a rabbit hole about chicken feet after.
Oh, Italians eat chicken feet too, by the way. My grandma used to buy them.
And I was like thinking of the Lowe's Oriental Market in Portsmouth and like, I think I've seen the chicken feet there.
You have. They have a market basket.
Do they?
It's in the back case with all the sort of like kidneys.
So it's culturally insensitive. But they're also pig's feet, by the way, back
I mean, they'll butcher all this stuff. You want
Am I culturally insensitive to the Chinese or the Italians? Who am I insulting?
Neither. But if you think we eat chicken legs, chicken feet or not, there's just the other part of the leg. If you think about it, it's really not that.
Yeah, but it's not walking in poop before you eat it.
I make a distinction between legs and feet, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's up to you.
Yeah. I love me a good steak, but not the hoof, right? Is what you're saying. Yeah. Well, you don't have to walk around on chicken feet to join us on Patreon.
You don't.
I don't know where that transition came from.
It came because it's better than. Do you want to level up your business? What you do is you need to procure the best technology.
Oh, leave Malcolm Gladwell alone.
I can't.
He's paying the bills for this journalism.
He's doing fine.
He's absolutely
fine. He does not
fine.
need to be left alone.
He needs to be left alone.
I'm allowed to dislike Malcolm Gladwell. It's my right as an American.
Well, you wouldn't be alone. But,
that is very, very mean to Canadians.
Yeah. I was actually hoping that I could just say like, hey, next time you're playing mahjong for big money, set a little bit aside and join us on Patreon at patreon.com/partners in crime media. You get all sorts of exclusive content, including the Crime Writers on After Show. This week, it's been a while, we're doing recommendations. It's autumn, and we're going to be talking about the books TV shows, movies, podcasts, whatever we think that you guys should check out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And usually we talk about podcasts that we think you should check out, so I don't know why we would do. I mean, maybe there's stuff here that like just
it's mostly TV and books and movies.
Yeah, because we're froofy like that.
Yeah, we are.
Other exclusive content includes Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. The latest episode, Toby and his guests are talking about The Art Thief. And I'll tell you guys, you know how Bill Rankin is like the super nicest guy? And he was on this episode of The Deep Dive. And Bill starts off by saying how much he enjoyed the book. And then when everybody else sort of had the criticisms, Bill ended up being like, oh, I see. He didn't stick to his guns. He had to be so polite.
Oh.
Like, I could see what your points are there. Unlike Livy Burdett, who just like went in and bulldozed everybody.
Went hard.
Hard. Lost all sorts of friends. It was pretty rough.
Livy's tough, man.
She's tough. You do not mess with a Brown alumna.
She learned from the best because last week you guys were all so polite about a podcast I didn't like. You were like, sideways. Like I was like, I hated this.
I was down.
I know.
I was slightly down. Other podcasts include Married with Podcast, our advice podcast. On the latest episode, Rebecca and I give advice to a listener who is thinking about reconnecting with their dad, even though mom is super toxic. Something's off.
Oh.
That's the new podcast, weekly podcast.
More than
Rebecca,
weekly recently.
Oh, well, whenever something is off, Rebecca Lavoie will be there along with Mel Barrett, giving you information, including, hey, you guys remember that cop from the Karen Reed case, the one that used the leaf blower to remove snow to look for evidence?
He provided the leaf blower.
He went and got his leaf blower. Well, he has been Suspended. Find out more on the next episode. Laura Bricker has the Leave It to Bricker podcast, in which she solves mysteries. She went on a fox hunt and told us the story. Laura, they don't actually hunt foxes anymore, do they?
No, they follow fake fox urine, and I got to the bottom of that mystery. Coming up, I'm going undercover, or maybe not undercover. I'm going into a Contra dance to find out what that's all about.
Oh, a Contra dance.
Yes. Have you ever
it's like
been?
a safety dance.
I think it's like hippie square dancing.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a little more defiant than a safety dance. It's Contra.
It's Contra. Oh, and of course, if you are joining us at the Deep Diver level, not only do you get to be official sponsors of the Deep Dive, but you also get to check out Toby and his guests talking about it. Toby, the next book coming out that you're, I know you just discussed it, but tell us what we can look forward to hearing you guys talk about.
It's called By the Fire We Carry by Rebecca Nagel. You might remember who did I think it was called Our Land.
Yes.
It was a Crooked Media podcast. It's an interesting book. It's alternating chapters, and half the chapters are really about sort of the history of particularly the Cherokee and the Muskogee nations and their dealings with the federal government and reservations and stuff like that. And then the other part of it is the series of trials basically to try and keep one guy in particular from being executed by arguing that the crime was committed on reservation land. And it ends up with all these issues, such as, one of the reasons why they come up with the idea that it is reservation land is because although they don't own the lawn and like the house, like a native person doesn't own that, they own the mineral rights beneath that acreage.
Right.
So the idea was that that's part of the reservation, even though they don't particularly live on that piece of land. So a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of bad U.S. presidents and officials, and then some surprising Supreme Court stuff. It's good. It's a hard. I wish I hadn't kept it for the last book of the deep dive season because I was ready for something light, and this was not it. But it is pretty interesting, and it's a really interesting history that you probably haven't gotten elsewhere before.
Toby, if you always want something light, you can just ask me. All I read is junk.
Right. Yeah. Rebecca, you could do your own book club where you just read
I'm in a real life book club. I don't
Harlan
need to.
Coben or whatever.
My book club, we read smut. So
I love that. Love that.
Yeah. All right. So you can support us at patreon.com/partners in crime media. Keeps us going.
And if you want to level up your business and improve your technology, we are not the place to go. We are not the place to go. That's not us.
No, because I couldn't even get my new microphone set up today.
Kevin, does thus end our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
Let's go ahead and fade that music out. Moving on. So, Kevin,
Yes.
looking at your notes, I see you really want to sink your teeth into this, right?
Yeah, just like I want to sink my teeth into HelloFresh.
Oh.
By the way, this isn't the HelloFresh you remember. HelloFresh is now bigger, healthier, and tastier.
Ooh.
So last time I made my order from HelloFresh, I found out that it doubled its menu to 100 options each week. And they still have stuff that sometimes you really don't have a lot of time, so you want something fast. But I am digging their new premium picks.
Nice.
We both said, like, really sang the last order we had was the butter-basted steak.
So good.
And scallion gremolata.
So good.
One of the things that really made this stand out is in addition to basting the steak and then adding the spicy maple syrup glaze to it, they had me whip ricotta cheese.
Yeah?
And it showed me how to sort of spread it on the plate and then put the roasted vegetables in it. So not only did everything taste great, it looked great too.
Ooh. The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/CWO10FM.
CWO10FM.
To get 10 free meals.
That's the FM free meals.
Plus free breakfast for life.
I like breakfast.
1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. That's HelloFresh.com/CWO10FM.
CWO10FM.
To get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. Kevin?
Yes.
Who is the next sponsor for this show?
Oh, we're brought to you by our friends at Rula.
Rula?
Yeah, telehealth has made mental health care accessible for millions of people, but finding a suitable therapist, scheduling appointments, and expensive out-of-pocket costs can still feel like a huge barrier. Thankfully, Rula has you covered. Now, this is, a special time of the year for some folks, but other times it brings up sadness and other feelings of conflict,
dread,
and happiness too. Candy canes, but it's not always candy canes. And sometimes you really want to find someone that you can talk that out with. And while sometimes it might be your sister, she might be the problem at the dinner table. That wouldn't work. So let Rula help you out. Rula partners with a network of over 15,000 therapists and psychiatrists, enabling you to find the right therapist for your needs and preferences. And get this, the average copay is as little as $15 a session. So simply answer a few questions and get started as soon as the next day.
Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey toward improved mental health and overall well-being. Head over to Rula.com/CWO
CWO
to get started today. After you sign up and they ask where you heard about them, please tell them our show sent you. Go to RULA.com/CWO
CWO
and take the first step toward better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. Kevin.
Yes.
Who's the next sponsor for Crime Writers?
Oh, we're brought to you by our friends at Quince.
Yes!
Yeah, as the air turns crisp and the holidays draw near, comfort becomes the best gift of all.
Yep.
Quince delivers layers that last, sweaters, outerwear, and everyday essentials that feel luxurious, look timeless, and make holiday dressing and gifting effortless. Quince makes for great gifts, but Rebecca likes to buy Quince for herself.
Sure do.
Tell us about, are you going to talk about that brown leather jacket that you got?
Yes.
Yeah, it goes with everything?
Yes, I got the little brown moto jacket. It is in cognac. I love this jacket so much. I thought about buying it for a long time. I resisted for some stupid reason. Kevin, I got that jacket a couple weeks ago. How many times have I worn it?
You've worn it like every day.
Almost
you find
every
it,
day.
Right, because you put it over a very fancy dress. You put it over jeans.
Yes.
It really does go with everything.
It goes with everything.
But you know what doesn't go with everything? At least you thought? Your original purchase. You got a different leather jacket.
That's right.
You didn't care for the color, and it was so easy to send back to Quince.
So easy. They make it so easy to do returns and exchanges. I love Quince so much. I buy like a good portion of my clothing there.
So step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last from Quince. Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself.
Just go to quince.com/crime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
Bonjour, hi.
That's QUINCE.com/crime to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime.
Crime.
So, Laura, what'd you think about Tina Wong, who we met in this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, Tina wasn't what I was expecting. First of all, you hear them going to her door, and you're thinking there's no way that this older woman who was once smuggling heroin is going to talk. And she does. And I think that was really good access, the fact that they were able to get Tina. At one point, she says she doesn't think the prosecution really understood her world. And that was sort of towards the end.
Some people said, oh, you know, how could you rat out your friend? So we don't want to be around her. I guess some people thought like that. I'm not sure, but
It kind of sounds like you felt a little bit like a pariah or something.
yeah, just a little. But I get over it because I know it's going to pass. Nobody can hold that all their life.
I think that was a really interesting issue, you know, in terms of when they were saying she's not being totally honest. And, you know, she had to send her child Fallon from Dynasty to go live with her parents. And she's in a different position. And so they're like, well, she's not telling us everything. Well, she's telling you enough to put these people away. You know, that's still pretty good. But I think the fact that she's honest about what it was like for her being the witness. And she has this sort of, she's like, oh, you talked to Beryl? Like, what did she say? So you have
I love
kind of,
that.
And then she's like, and I had to tell her that Beryl was my boyfriend's mother. And she still talked to me. And I was like, yeah, I think she was a good voice because you can see the progression. You know, she's growing up in Chinatown. She feels like an outsider because she's only half Chinese. And she meets this other girl who is somebody that she gravitates to. And then that's the person who, you know, later approaches her to just pick up some packages. No big deal. Just don't look behind curtain number 3.
Pick up some packages by BMW. That's how it works.
And so when she said, yeah, exactly. So she says, like, you don't understand my world. Well, here's her world. She's like, okay, I'm either going to have to give up this person who was like my friend, or I'm going to give up my kid because I'm never going to be able to get my kid back. And also, you know, I want to know more about the mahjong. I think that's
same. I've always wanted to learn to play mahjong. I love cards, so I know I would love it.
So confusing to me. And it's like, it's a game of strategy, luck, and da-da-da. I'm like, it's just way too much going on. And I want to go behind the scenes at the mahjong parlor.
Yeah. Millions of people would not be playing it if it were that hard. That's all I got to say. And I know it's fun. People I know who play it love it. Love it.
Yeah, I think that if you were like casting like this audio play, that when you say, hey, you know, one of the key figures here is a 60-year-old woman who is involved in a sting in Chinatown. She has like this fantastic New York accent.
She's very much a New Yorker.
Yeah, very much a New Yorker there. So I only bring it up because it does sort of like tickle your brain about how she fit in to that world when she was young. And it makes for like why as a young girl, like why she would appeal to somebody like Tina, somebody, you know, can kind of take her in and help her find community.
I like Tina because she was just honest. She was such an honest interview. She was like, why didn't you want to? She's like, because that was my friend. I didn't want to rat on my friend. Like, okay, like that makes the most sense of any reason for anything I think we've heard on any podcast. It makes complete sense. She was your friend. You did this thing. You guys didn't think it was a big deal, and you don't want her to get in trouble either. So, yeah, I mean, that sounds extremely realistic to me. There is a random shooting that happens in the story, Toby, and it's kind of never been solved, right? Like who shot who, whose fault it was?
Yeah, so there's a few different theories, but whether it was like a hit, I guess, or whether it was just some hot-headed kid or whatever, I mean, some of the confusion seems to flow from this really kind of crazy thing that they talk about, which is that the people who are actually carrying out like the gunplay for these Chinese gangs are like these teenagers because they're not going to get in as much trouble for walking around with a gun. So, you know, when you're sending 14, 15, 16-year-old boys out to pick up ice cream, the chances that they're going to come back with like the wrong kind seems pretty high. So the idea that you'd send them out to actually kill people seems completely insane.
When Tina came to, she was on the ground. She couldn't get back up. She couldn't feel her leg.
I was praying that he wouldn't like shoot me again because my daughter was there.
But the teenager ran away, and Tina somehow crawled out of the elevator.
That was another kind of interesting thing where, again, to me, like, I don't know why I got in this mindset with this, but I was like, okay, this just feels like it's potential for a miniseries. And like having these like children who are like the muscle for these gangs is just another kind of weird little detail that seemed very counterintuitive and unusual.
If I were going to make this into a scripted series, I would frame it around these two women, Beryl and Tina, and their individual journeys into the same courtroom. So there would be a lot of all the stuff. But I love the idea that they ended up having this like kind of, they're not friends, obviously, and I don't want to call it respect, but there certainly wasn't animosity after all these years from either one of them toward the other. What'd you think about that, Kevin? Because that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they have a regard for each other, I believe. And certainly it sounds like they hadn't really thought about each other in a long time until this comes up. And, whether or not Tina, like, actually just kind of brushes Beryl off as someone like, well, you got to do what you got to do. And that's the end of, like, her deep feelings about it. I can't tell. Nonetheless, it's been like 30 years since this happened and a lot went down. And I mean, I could see how you would set up the miniseries. I think you can't forget Wah as a big character because she's a big character in real life. I keep picturing
she's
like
a heroin dealer,
but she's like 60 something and she's got pink spiky hair or whatever it is, and it's like I just keep picturing Rizzo from Grease.
Okay,
like that was like the high school vibe.
There were worse things she could do.
There were worse things that she could do. Like,
that was a Grease reference, by the way.
It was. She like recruit mahjong players to be part of a drug trafficking operation. That would be worse than
dyeing your hair pink. Yeah.
I might dye my hair pink.
What did you think about the Beryl dynamic, Laura? Because this is a very impressive and important person in the judicial world to this day. She's like really important.
Yeah. I immediately recognized her name.
I know you did.
Yeah, immediately.
And she not only talks about a case, which is rare for judges. It's not impossible. Because I know, Kevin, you've interviewed a judge before.
Yeah,
about
federal
a case.
judge. Yeah, they don't usually talk, but if you want to talk about the things they did as prosecutors,
they love it.
Come on up to my office.
They love it.
Well, his nickname was Chung Tao, which is Onionhead. And it had always been described to me that his nickname had been given to him as a kid because his hair stood up straight. And so the first thing I wanted to look for is, did he live up to his nickname or not?
By the way, go to a federal court and say, I'm here to see Judge so-and-so. The judges feel like, oh, yeah, you can just like walk up to the office. It's like, no, do you know these guys down here won't even let me take my cell phone? They're just going to say, take that elevator? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Beryl was a good voice. And like, what a score to have this judge included in this podcast. What a score to have her dig out her notes. But I struggled with the way that it was introduced, which felt a little cutesy to me, of like how they knew each other and how long she had known her growing up and how she got into this line of work because of her. And I was like, I understood all of that, but I also felt a little bit like, it's like really the only reason that I think this judge took part in this podcast. And also I felt like it was a little bit like they introduced that in like the second episode or like a little bit later of like how they knew each other. Like it was just like this organic thing. And then, and P.S., this is the judge who's going to cooperate. I'm like, no, that's the whole reason this whole podcast was done.
It's your boyfriend's mom.
You guys were having like some holiday meal and talked about it, which is awesome. Like I can't, but at the same time, I think it was great to hear the, play-by-play of what it was like to be prosecuting, being in the hospital, having a baby and not being able to be there at one point. That's like, high drama. And, I also felt like you definitely heard that sort of tough as nails prosecutor voice when she's talking about how she wasn't going to let Tina off the hook without being totally truthful about everything she knew. And then they had this sort of exchange at the end, which I thought was really interesting, where it was like, I guess she saw Tina and she said, you're lucky, the judge could have, put you away for a lot more or whatever. Then Beryl was like, well, did she think I was being snarky about that? Like, no, I was respecting her or something. And I was like, I don't know.
Well, they rode on the train together. Everyone has to ride the LIRR, after court.
Yeah.
It's a long ride. Looking at you want to go to the club car instead of like hanging out with the prosecutor.
Back then they had those club cars,
Yeah, so I don't know. That was like a long roundabout way of saying like, I think it's great that we have her voice there, but I struggled a little bit with the reason that we had her voice there.
Yeah. We also got that dramatic story, Toby, of Beryl, the whole I'm 9 months pregnant and prosecuting a case situation. That rung familiar to me, but you nailed why it rung familiar.
Yeah, that was like a thing in that Anna Delvey miniseries with Julia Garner. The reporter's like, got to finish her story before her water breaks, basically.
And they pull it right off the newsstand while she's in recovery.
Right.
As if that's the way magazines work.
Right. So, I mean, in that case, it just seemed kind of ridiculous. It's like, you really don't need this. But in this case, I guess it was real. So Those are the things that expectant mothers have to deal with all the time.
That's right, Toby.
I was serving subpoenas like a week before I gave birth. And I remember being like, maybe I should go off the road right now and not be out here because I could go into labor out in the middle of nowhere.
Toby, a quick question for you. You know how like sometimes you're listening to a podcast and there's going to be like some horrible language or some violent scene and they say like, hey, we're about to play this thing. You might want to fast forward. Do you feel like they should do that with Giuliani if he's going to appear in podcasts?
Yes, 100%. They should actually just do it right up front and just be like,
content warning.
There will be a soundbite of Rudy Giuliani. Listen with care.
Listen with care. Yeah.
Take care of yourself while listening.
Exactly. You do not have children in the room.
Yeah.
Here's an 800 number you can call for help.
Exactly. If you or one of your loved ones has heard Rudy Giuliani, please call. It was funny though, but it was like thinking back to a time when Rudy Giuliani wasn't like the toxic
worst
guy that he is now.
I mean, he was always toxic. Remember when he broke up with his wife via press
he's
conference?
always been horrendous, but now he seems like a man without any friends.
That's right. That's right.
And this is
hanging out in New Hampshire, for fuck's sake. Going to baseball games in Manchester.
I once sat near him in a restaurant back. He wasn't mayor anymore, but he was still relatively well regarded at the time. It was probably like between 2005 2010. And he was there with his like teenage son, who was not speaking to him the entire time they were there. It was a very interesting dynamic.
Was it Andrew?
I don't know, but he was a very sporty looking kid, and Giuliani kept trying to ask him questions about like his day or his team or whatever, and he was just like, no, and I was like, this is amazing. This is the best conversation to listen to.
Hi there, my name is Annie Elise, aka your true crime BFF and host of the podcast Serialously. I have been a true crime enthusiast forever, but I wished somebody would break down the cases for me like a friend, giving all the details and discussing every twist and turn. So I decided to create a podcast that does just that. I do the deep dives in these cases so you don't have to, diving into all the raw details, saying what we're all thinking, and in a conversational way. So join me and let's talk all things true crime. Serialously with Annie Elise. New episodes drop every Monday and Thursday wherever you get your podcasts.
Planning a trip this year? Travel smarter and connect deeper by learning the local language with Rosetta Stone. With over 30 years of experience, Rosetta Stone's immersive, intuitive method helps you live the language, not just memorize it. Choose from over 25 languages, including Spanish, French, Japanese, and more. Their true accent speech recognition technology gives real-time feedback to help perfect your pronunciation. No translations, just natural learning that builds from words to phrases to full conversations. Whether you have 5 minutes or an hour, you can learn anytime on desktop or mobile. Get a lifetime membership and unlock all 25 languages. Learn as much as you want, whenever you want. Rosetta Stone. Learn confidently. Connect authentically. Don't wait. Unlock your language learning potential now. Listeners can grab Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. That's unlimited access to 25 language courses for life. Visit rosettastone.com/pod50 to get started and claim your 50% off today. Don't miss out. Go to rosettastone.com/pod50 and start learning today.
Hey neighbor, this holiday season, Birch Lane is here to help you celebrate with friends and family. From guest-ready dining tables to cozy sofas that fit the whole crew, our classic furniture and decor are crafted to last. And with fast, free delivery, you can be ready for holiday hosting in days, not weeks. So you can spend time on what matters most. It's classic style for joyful living. Shop Birch Lane, a Wayfair specialty brand at birchlane.com.
Running a business is hard enough, so why make it harder with a dozen different apps that don't talk to each other? Introducing Odoo, the only business software you'll ever need. It's an all-in-one, fully integrated platform that makes your work easier. From CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, and more. And the best part, Odoo replaces multiple expensive platforms for a fraction of the cost. That's why over thousands of businesses have made the switch. So why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out the podcast, The Chinatown Sting, from Pushkin Industries. Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Chinatown Sting?
I'm going to go with thumb sideways on this. For me, there was a lot of great information. There was a lot of historical context about Chinatown and the history of Chinatown. We had access to people that had been gang members in Chinatown that kind of gave some context about what it was like. We had access to then prosecutor, now judge, that was involved in prosecuting this case, which was a great voice to have. We had access to one of the women who was prosecuted in this case. I think for me, I struggled with this. I don't know what, I really can't put my finger on it. I feel like for me, what I was talking about in my review portion when we were still talking about kind of our talking points was I feel like there was a thread at the end of this that would have made this much more relevant to the world today. And it would have, been more engaging for me to listen in that context. And I feel like I was kind of this was one of those like, why now podcasts, which I say all the time, why now? And there was a why now, but it was at the end in the last 10 minutes. And I think if that had been put further forward in the podcast, for me, it would have, brought it together with more of a common thread as opposed to just sort of a retelling of this case through the people that were there. I mean, it's interesting. And if you're really interested in that part of history and that era of history, you will probably find it interesting. For me, I was just kind of like, okay. It wasn't my favorite thing. It wasn't my least favorite thing. But there was a lot of research that went into it. So thumb sideways.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for the Chinatown Sting?
Yeah, I guess I'm a thumb sideways too. Sort of a more positive spin on the thumb sideways, but still thumb sideways. There's interesting stuff in here. Definitely got good voices. It didn't stick for me for whatever reason. Like I would listen to it and then like I would kind of have a hard time recalling what it was about or whatever. Like I don't know if it was just that it wasn't centered around a personality or an issue or something that kind of helped me organize it in my head. And that was just kind of a story about stuff that happened. That being said, some of the people who are in this, who they have tape with, are pretty interesting, and it is an interesting look at these Chinese gangs importing heroin in the 80s. But I don't know. There was just something missing for me, so it's a thumb sideways.
Kevin Flynn.
Yeah, I'm a mild thumbs up. I like this more than I have liked podcasts about crimes from decades ago. I feel like it had a little more to it than that. They did a good job like tracking down people, showing a little transparency of how they found the different folks. Hey, maybe bring a peach cobbler next time you go knock on someone's door when you want to talk to them about the crime they were involved with back in the 90s. I mean, it seems like that's something people should be able to do. I really, and I also like to sort of the asides. Usually they feel like filler to me, but they did do a really good job of sort of bringing alive, what that culture was like at that time. It kind of fades at the end because, it's about a trial. And so, when we get to the verdict, everything just kind of slows down because that's the way these stories go. But I think for what it is, it's actually surprisingly good. So I am a mild thumbs up.
I am a very mild thumbs up. And I went from thumb sideways to very mild thumbs up because this podcast, frankly, sounds fantastic. Like the audio production is really strong. And I think that my issue with it is basically like not every story is interesting enough to be a podcast, and I'm not sure this one is, and I can't quite figure out why either, Toby, because there are so many interesting elements to it. And in that regard, it reminded me a lot of another Pushkin podcast, Lost Hills, which I remember liking the first season of, the Dana Goodyear podcast, which is like weird stories in Malibu and like murder stuff. Season 1 I thought was a little more compelling because it had really cool characters in it, but then I remember just being like, why do we keep going back to this particular place for weird stories? It's Malibu, right? Like, it's just like, and this kind of had the same vibe. It felt like, felt a little bit like eating a protein-free meal, if that makes sense, where I wasn't particularly satisfied with it. I don't remember a lot of it.
Does this have to do with chicken feet again?
No.
Okay.
But like, there's some reason why it didn't stick, but it did sound really good, and it included the Chinese Exclusion Act stuff, which I super appreciated, and I would have loved even more of that. So yeah, I can't give it a thumbs down or a thumbs, and I'm only giving it a thumbs sideways. I think I would typically be a sideways about this, except for the fact that it is produced really beautifully. So yeah, mild thumbs up for me for the Chinatown Sting. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime of the Week. Reality TV star and unlikely attorney Kim Kardashian admits she had an unusual study partner while completing law school. She says she used ChatGPT to prep for her exams. The Keeping Up with star revealed this tidbit while strapped to a polygraph for the online series Vanity Fair's lie detector test. But she said the AI tool frequently gave her the wrong answers. Kardashian said she'd yell at the app for making her fail. But ChatGPT would respond by saying, this is just teaching you how to trust your own instincts. You knew the answers all along, like it's the fucking Wizard of Oz or something.
It was always within you.
Kardashian took the bar exam last month and is waiting to hear if she passed. She said someday when she's finished being Kim K, she'd like to be a trial lawyer, which is great because even a billionaire needs something to fall back on. So panel, this is my question for you. As you may know, Kevin has been using AI to help him prepare for a lawsuit against a neighbor. What bad legal advice has that app given Kevin?
Perhaps it has to do with what he should be wearing to court when he goes to argue on behalf of himself.
Okay.
I don't know.
What do you think?
Bermuda shorts? Is that what it keeps telling me?
Yes.
Got cargo shorts.
Cargo shorts.
It's telling you to build a pickleball court in your backyard because that will never get you in trouble, right, Toby?
That's some weird legal advice, but yeah, that's not good.
What do you think the bad legal advice is that AI has given Kevin, Toby?
Represent yourself. It'll be fine.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That seems to be it.
What do you think, Kevin? Good idea, Kevin. What do you think?
It says flip on the mob.
Oh, my God.
So that's really bad advice.
Oh, my God.
That's
Remember
right.
when an editor once told us you can write about anything you want, but just don't write about the fucking mob. You'll regret it. Remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
All right. Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you online and say hello, how can they find you there?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Instagram and Blue Sky.
What about you, Toby? How can you be found?
I'm at TobyBallNH on Blue Sky, at TobyBall603 on Instagram. I think I'll be posting stuff about Rip Current because there's not a whole lot of marketing being done by iHeart, but listen to it.
All right. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
You can find me everywhere.
P stands for pro se.
Oh, my God. You can find me everywhere at Reb Lavoie, including, I'm still on Twitter, just mostly talking about certain topics, but you can find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, etc. Find the show everywhere at Crime Writers On, and please join our Facebook group. It's awesome. Just go to Facebook, find our page. There's a link there to join the group. Get everything we make on Patreon at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. For just $5 or $6 a month, you can get more content than you can handle. That's the feedback that we sometimes get. I don't have time to listen to all this extra stuff you're making. I love hearing it. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons, and our editor is the terrific and very strident with her little opinions, isn't she? Livy Burdett.
All about art.
The EP of this show is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in Studio C, the closet in our New Hampshire basement, where we also love a good high-stakes game of mahjong. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later.
Oh, a contra dance.
Yes. Have you ever
it's like
been?
a safety dance.
I think it's like hippie square dancing.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
little more defiant than a safety dance. It's contra.
It's contra.
Isn't it? It's like an Iranian thing, right?
I don't know. I'm going to find
No,
out.
I think it's like a square dance. I think it's like a square dance.
There
So
are
it's the
too
Iran
many.
Contra.
There are too many odd.
We're going to the Sandinista
Yeah.
dance
Oh my
next week.
my God.
Oh my God, no one who's a little younger than us knows anything about what we're talking about.
No.
There's
Why?
there's
And
nobody younger
China-
that's listening to this, so you don't have to
Yeah.
worry.
Colin Powell, if you're listening right now, I'm sorry we brought up this incident
Yeah.
from your past.
Yeah, Beryl Howell knows all about this, right? And so does Tina Wong, but nobody else will remember the Iran-Contra affair. Okay.
Partners in Crime Media.
Hey neighbor, this holiday season, Birch Lane is here to help you celebrate with friends and family. From guest-ready dining tables to cozy sofas that fit the whole crew, our classic furniture and decor are crafted to last. And with fast, free delivery, you can be ready for holiday hosting in days, not weeks. So you can spend time on what matters most. It's classic style for joyful living. Shop Birch Lane, a Wayfair specialty brand at birchlane.com.
Running a business is hard enough, so why make it harder with a dozen different apps that don't talk to each other? Introducing Odoo, the only business software you'll ever need. It's an all-in-one, fully integrated platform that makes your work easier. From CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, and more. And the best part, Odoo replaces multiple expensive platforms for a fraction of the cost. That's why over thousands of businesses have made the switch. So why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
At Designer Shoe Warehouse, we believe that shoes are an important part of, well, everything.
From first steps to first dates, from all-nighters to all-time personal bests.
From building pillow forts to building a life.
For all the big and small moments that make up your whole world, DSW is there. And we've got just the shoes. Find a shoe for every you from brands you love at brag-worthy prices at your DSW store or DSW.com.